everybody, it's day 3 of our plank challenge. Thus far we've covered standard plank where you face the floor, reverse plank where you face the ceiling, and today we're covering side plank. So if you haven't had a chance to go back and do the other 2 plank days, feel free to go back and find those either in the units section of the group or just in the discussion feed. Today we're going to talk about what is probably my favorite plank. There are a lot of different options and variations. In day 1, when we did standard plank, we went over some options for protecting your wrists, and those options are applicable here as well. So if you used hand weights, for example, when you did standard plank to keep the wrists extended, you're welcome to go and take a moment to grab a set of hand weights now and then come back and join us. I'm going to teach you different ways to use the arms and also a few different ways to use the legs, and then we'll finish up with a quick, simple little sequence. So we're going to start with a forearm setup. This is actually what I prefer in side plank unless the variation prohibits me being on my forearm if I need that full extension through my elbow. But otherwise, I find it a lot more comfortable to be on my forearm. So we're going to come down onto our left side. And when you set up for side plank, you're going to bring your forearm down to the mat. You want to make sure that your elbow is either just underneath your shoulder or a hair on the outside. But what you want to avoid is having your elbow inside of the shoulder, tucked underneath you, because that's inevitably going to lead to misalignment and a lot of discomfort and possible injury in your shoulder and in your neck. So that's the most important part out of all of this, is that the elbow is either under the shoulder, or again, it can be just a hair on the outside, but not too far out, because that has the same effect as tucking it in underneath you. So if you're down on your forearm, best thing you can do is just press your palm and your 5 fingers into the mat. And then to get our core engaged and our alignment proper, we want to make sure that this shoulder isn't shoved up by the ear. So the best way to do that is to think of pushing your elbow and your forearm down into the mat, pushing your shoulder away from your ear, and you should automatically feel a lift through your center, which leaves your core engaged. So if you are building strength in a plank, this is the first place to come. You're already pressing up and away. You're already engaged through your core. You can just take your free arm and reach it up toward the ceiling just to accentuate that lift. And you can hold here and you can breathe that Pilates breath that we talked about on day 1. In through the nose and out through the mouth, engaging your whole core. This is the best place to be to build strength. So just in case you did that with me, let's set it up on the other side to even things out. So we come down on the forearm. We want to make sure again that elbow is right underneath the shoulder or a hair on the outside. We want to make sure we're not dropping down, popping the shoulder up. Instead, we push the forearm and the elbow into the ground. Lift through the center. The shoulder moves away from the ear. And then we have that option of extending that free arm just to remind us to lift. And you should feel the work occurring primarily, not that it doesn't occur everywhere, but the feeling, the sensation is generally on that lower side body. And we breathe here, in through the nose, out through the mouth. Deep, deep breaths. So this is, again, an awesome place to start to build some strength if side planks are new for you. Now, if you want to set a plank up on your hand instead, the classic way of doing it, so we're sitting on our right hip right now. My knees are bent. You just take your right arm in line with your torso and your hip, and then you extend it out as far as it's willing to go. So you can see it's kind of like I'm making a triangle through this side of my body right now. My middle finger is pointing directly to the side wall here. So all I'm going to do from this position is again push the heel of my hand into the mat, release my shoulder, and lift through my center, and my core is already engaged. If you were building strength in your shoulder, in your upper body, this could be a great place to stay. Just stay here for a while. We can also lift the hips up, and you will see right away that my shoulder, when I lift up, either comes directly over my wrist, or my wrist is just a hair on the outside. But what we want to avoid, and I will only show you this once, is this, right? That's very painful and can lead to injury. So again, flipping over to the other side, just in case you're practicing along with me, we sit on that left hip. You just take your left arm into your side, and then you just reach it out as far as it will go, creating that triangle shape. Middle finger points straight to the side wall. We push down through the heel of the hand so you can see the difference. This is me relaxed, and this is me pushing. My shoulder releases and my core engages. If we're building strength, we keep the push going and we reach up and we breathe. If we want to, we elevate those hips, in which case you can see my shoulder is over my wrist, or the wrist can be just a hair on the outside. So that's your side plank setup, whether you're on your forearm or on your hand. There are many other different ways to get there. There are ways to transition. Maybe in future challenges we'll go through some of those, but for now those are the simplest and the easiest. So now we're going to talk a little bit about leg position, and just because it's more comfortable to me, I'm going to go back onto my forearm. You can choose to be on your hand or your forearm. Let's go through these various positions. So we're on our left side, taking the forearm down to the mat, making sure that elbow is in the proper place, pressing up and away so I'm already engaged. So remember, here is your option 1. We're breathing, core is firing. This is option 2, with both knees still bent to lift your hips. And this is a great place to stay. You'll start to feel the underside of your core fire up a little bit more. You'll feel the outer hip begin to fire. So option 3 is just an extension of that top leg, resting on the inner edge of the foot. And every time we take away a little bit of support, it gets a little bit more challenging. Option 4, we take the top foot, we bring it flat in front of us, and we extend the bottom leg, resting on the outer edge of the foot. And then option 5, we'll only go through 5 today, is to bring both legs out with the top foot in front. So you're resting on the inside of the top foot and the outside of the bottom foot. And no matter where you choose to be, you're always pressing away, lifting the side, and shoulder moving away from the ear, and always breathing, right? So let's just go through those one more time so that you can see them, and I'll show them to you on my hand on this side. So if you did your forearm on that side and you're following along with me, stay on your forearm. I'm just going to show it to you a little bit differently. So we're sitting on our right hip, right hand comes to the side, we reach it out, we make that triangle, we push the floor away, and then remember, option 1 is just here with the hips still on the floor, but we're pressing away and we're engaged. Option 2 is simply to hover your hips, breathing here. And then option 3 is to extend, and I'm going to scoot myself just this way a little bit so you can see all the way through to my foot. To extend the top leg, I'm still pushing the floor away, still engaged. I'm on the inner edge of that top foot. Option 4, we bring the top foot in front, flat to the floor, and we extend the bottom leg, coming to the outer edge of the foot. And then that option 5 is to stagger the feet, top foot in front, bottom foot behind, breathing all the while, pressing away from the floor. So, we're going to go through a little progression sequence where we focus on our breath, we focus on the alignment we just talked about, and we really focus on the different foot positions, leg positions. I'm going to invite you to stick with the ones that feel right for you. If you're building strength, you don't have to try them all. There's time for that. Look at it as a goal position, something you want to work your way toward. So let's start on the left side. And we'll use the forearm today. So we're sitting on that left hip. We come down, we check our alignment. We press the floor away, engaged and lifted through the center. Free arm reaches up toward the ceiling. We're going to take 5 breaths in each position. So inhaling through the nose, exhaling through the mouth, and hugging your spine with your core muscles. Inhale through the nose, exhale through the mouth. 3 more breaths. Big breath in, big breath out. I'm guessing we have about 1 more breath here. So you could stay here and just build your strength, or lift your hips. We're now in option 2, and we continue to breathe. 5 deep breaths. And it's okay to take breaks in between variations and bring the hips down, maybe even roll out your shoulder. Here's our option 3, extend the top leg. See what this one feels like. Maybe you can push up a little higher in this position. Make sure the shoulder is still moving down away from the ear. Keep that deep breath flowing. And then we go into option 4, top foot in front. Bottom leg extends. Maybe we can press up a little higher here. Feel a little bit more core engagement as we continue to breathe. In through the nose, out through the mouth, pressing the floor away. And then option 5, if you want it, staggered feet, still lifted. It's okay to be shaking at this point. If you lose your form, that's the time to come down. We've got about 4, 3, 2, 1, and relax. Take that shoulder, give it a little roll back a few times, give it a little roll forward, and we'll switch sides. So now we're sitting on that right side, bringing the forearm down to the mat. We're going to make sure the elbow's in the right place. We're going to press away, lift through the center, engaged. We reach that free hand up toward the ceiling, and we start focusing on our 5 breaths. So if you notice a lot of tension in your neck, try turning your head in different positions. See what works best for you and creates the least amount of tension. Option 2, we lift the hips and we continue with our breathing and our lifting and our pressing down through the shoulder, through the forearm. So I can look up for a while and then I kind of have to look forward and maybe even a little down, and then I can bring my head back into it again. Sometimes I just look straight ahead. Option 3, extend that top leg. Again, maybe we can press up a little higher here. Create a little bit more core engagement as we continue to breathe. Deep core breaths. Option 4, top foot comes in front, bottom leg extends. Again, maybe we lift a little higher. We start to feel that bottom hip working as well. And then option 5, only if it feels right for you. Stay where it feels appropriate and breathe. Build strength so that these can become goal moves for you. Lift those hips up nice and high. And then we come down. Give that shoulder a couple rolls back, couple rolls forward. And then let's just lace our fingers, flip the palms, press forward through the heels of the hands as you round your upper to mid back. So planks give us a ton of upper body work if we do them correctly. So we've always got to stretch that upper body out afterward. Release the hands, roll up, flip the palms to face outward, sweep the arms back behind you, go ahead and open up the chest. There's an option From here, if you want, you can flip your palms down to the floor, soften your elbows, and then press into the heels of your hands to open up your chest here. So I know that these first few videos might seem really informational, maybe a little dry, but I'm gonna be completely honest that plank form is probably the most important thing that you can learn. And once you learn the form and you learn how to do it properly and you gain the strength, then you can add all the fun stuff in. But if you try, I see this all the time in group classes, if you try to add all the bells and whistles too fast, or you're not thinking about your form and your breath, that's when injury happens, and then people find themselves unable to do plank at all. So I know it might be a little potentially boring to start, but I promise you, work your way through these and then we will start to play. I will see you in day 4.